Hey guys, it's Bridget from Open Chair Counseling, and in this little mini series, we are talking all about different categories or different types of coping skills. And the next category that I want to talk about with you guys is connecting with yourself. So, I always tell my clients one of the best ways to help your brain and your body kind of calm back down after our nervous system has kind of gotten thrown off balance is just to control your breathing. And I know that sounds like almost stupidly simple, but it's kind of hard. It's sort of a discipline. One of the easiest ways to control our breathing and kind of focus on something else is a technique called line breathing. So this is about as simple as it sounds. So you're just going to follow a line up and breathe in, and follow the line down and breathe out. So when I'm doing this with a client, sometimes I'll hold a brightly colored marker so that they can follow that with their eyes. But if you're doing this by yourself, you can easily find like the line of a wall. Like there's like a little piece of my drywall that kind of comes out at an angle, or like the leg of a coffee table right here, like the edge of a coffee table. I guess that doesn't really work because it's kind of sideways. But point being, if you need to do this by yourself, you can easily draw a line and follow it up and down with your eyes while you breathe in nice and slow and then breathe out nice and slow, or find some kind of a line in like the room or the space around you. The next coping skill, the next breathing coping skill that I want to share with you guys, you might have already heard of. It's called box breathing, 4x4 breathing, square breathing, tactical breathing. It goes by a lot of names, but it's kind of the same thing. We're going to breathe in when you go up and then out when you go down, but instead of just making a straight line up and down, we're going to make a little square with our breath, or like a little box. So you're going to breathe in, hold, out, hold. And this is a little bit more challenging than just like straight breathing in and out, because it's not natural for us to pause after an inhale and then pause after an exhale. It takes a little bit more thought and a little bit more like body discipline to do it. So a lot of times people will do it on a 4 count, which is why, some people might call it 4x4 breathing. So it'd be like in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. But you'd probably want to go about twice as slow as that. That was just kind of for demonstration purposes. Another great way to connect with yourself is just to assess your own physical needs. Like, am I tired? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Do I need to go to the bathroom? Is it too hot in this room? Is it too cold in this room? Am I itchy? Am I sitting weird? Sometimes just noticing our own basic needs can go a long way to helping us calm back down. If you've ever like been super hot but didn't realize that you were super hot, or super thirsty without realizing you were super thirsty, it can make you really agitated and you don't know why. Like, why am I getting so annoyed at things that normally would just roll right off? Oh, well, it's because I'm, 110 degrees and I didn't realize how hot it was getting in this room. Another great coping skill would be to like stretch or do some yoga. A lot of times when I'm just sitting like in my counseling chair back there, or I'm sitting at my computer at my desk right here, I can tend to kind of like hunch over or like sit in a weird position. And sometimes I just need to remind myself to like stretch and kind of reset my posture. Maybe if there's something that's like really bothering you and you feel like your whole body's really worked up, maybe taking a hot bath or a shower would help you relax and kind of like ease that tension so that you can revisit that thing that you've been struggling with. Go for a walk or a jog or a run if that's your thing, preferably outside rather than inside, just to kind of soak up more of that fresh air and vitamin D. But if you have to do it inside, that's a great option too. Shake out your hands. I'm not kidding. A lot of times this helps, even though it looks kind of silly. It really can help. There's something crazy about like shaking off sometimes like a gross feeling that we've been carrying around with us. It's almost like it's like a sludgy coat that we're wearing, just like weighing us down with all of this stress and like icky, annoying, gross feelings that we can accumulate. Hold a piece of ice in your hands, or like behind the back of your head, or maybe like splash some cool water on your face or on your neck. There's something about kind of like that intense temperature difference that sort of like resets our nervous system. There's a lot to do with the vagus nerve that maybe we could get into another time. A lot of times when our nervous system, like our brain and our body, get kind of like thrown out of whack, we kind of disconnect from like our five senses. So trying a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique is a really great way to reintegrate back into those senses. So notice and maybe even say them out loud if you feel comfortable enough in the room that you're in to do that. Name 5 things that you can see around you right now, 4 things that you can physically feel touching your body, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, 1 thing that you can taste. You don't necessarily have to do them in this order. That's just the way that I think is kind of the easiest. But if you think it's easier to smell 3 things than hear 3 things, then try that. Maybe try mindful eating. So eat something like you've never eaten that thing before. Notice, are there like little textural grooves in it? Is it slippery? Is it fuzzy? Like, how heavy is it? What colors are there? How does it catch the light? Is it kind of like matte and dull, or is it really shiny and reflective? What does it feel like when you slice into it? What does it feel like when you put it in your mouth? Does it change consistency? Does it change taste as you're chewing on it? What does your body feel as you're chewing and as you swallow? How did you feel before you ate that thing or drank that thing? How do you feel afterwards? What did it smell like? Does it make a sound? Like all kinds of different things. Just connecting with your five senses and that, food or drink item like you've never experienced it before, to kind of notice some new things that maybe we would bypass because we're just so busy we don't take the time to notice. You could also try tapping or acupressure points as a way to connect with yourself. There's a lot of information on the internet about EFT, emotional freedom tapping technique. I am definitely not an expert in it, but I know there's like different points like on your face and on your collarbone and like the sides of your arms and stuff that people have reported that they feel a lot of relief when they try tapping on those areas. Sometimes they'll even like repeat different mantras to themselves while they're tapping to kind of like integrate those 2 things together. Or there's also like acupressure points. Like, for instance, when I'm getting ready to do EMDR with some of my clients, one of the acupressure points that I show them is right between your thumb and your first finger. There should be like a little muscle right in there. And if you can find that point and kind of locate it, of course, you don't have to be, an expert in this, just kind of approximate. If we can apply some gentle pressure in like a circular motion, enough to be able to feel it, but not enough to be uncomfortable, this sends a message. So this is what I've heard. This sends a message to our digestive system that says like, hey, look, we're good. Everything's fine. We're calm. Because one of the first things that your body shuts down when you're in like that frantic fight, flight, freeze state is it stops digestion. And so I always say to my clients, your brain's making the decision, is it more important for me to run away from a bear or for me to digest my lunch? Definitely more important for me to run away from a bear. So our body shuts down our digestive system so that we can put energy towards other life-saving activities. So if we can remind ourselves that like, hey, look, everything's good, coast is clear, we can go back to digesting our sandwich. This helps kind of calm our brain and our body back down. Try making a list of positive things about yourself. Even if you can only think of 1 or 2 things, that's better than none, right? And probably the more you try this technique of making a list of positive things about yourself, the easier it'll be for you to find new things or additional things that you can write down that are positive. Remember to drop your shoulders. We can carry a lot of tension and anxiety in our shoulders and on our backs. So remember to drop your shoulders. That can be really helpful. Also, relax your face. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how often I will notice when I'm driving. I don't know why driving, especially. Maybe it's because I have like really bad eyesight, and so I'm always like on the lookout for things, like just in case something, comes across the street like a deer or something. But I will notice all the time when I am driving, my face gets so stiff, and I have to actually remind myself, like, okay, Bridget, you need to loosen your eyebrows. You need to loosen your cheeks and your jaw, because we can also hold a lot of tension in our face too. Move your eyes back and forth. This is kind of the premise of EMDR therapy, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. I would only recommend doing it like slowly a few times because you don't want to accidentally process and flood yourself. But, there's something about just kind of like moving our gaze from like the typical straight ahead, um, and kind of reminding ourselves like, oh yeah, my peripheral vision exists. Progressive muscle relaxation is also another great way to connect with our bodies. If you've never heard of progressive muscle relaxation, it's basically like a process of going through a bunch of different muscle groups, or you could just focus on one if you wanted to, and kind of like tensing and then releasing that muscle group. So, one of my colleagues who's also a therapist, he used to work with kids a lot, and he would give the analogy of like pretend that you're making lemonade and you're squeezing that lemon as hard as you possibly can, and you're seeing like all the juice and the seeds running down your arm, and then release your lemon, and then squeeze your lemon, and then release your lemon, and just kind of notice like what your hand feels like, what your forearm feels like as you're squeezing and then relaxing. So you can do this just on one muscle group. Like if you wanted to just try it with your hand, you can. Or a lot of times with like progressive muscle relaxation, they will progress from one muscle group, usually like starting in your head and in your face, and like tense up and relax your face, and then move to your shoulders, and then move to your abdomen, and move to your legs. So you could try that as a way of connecting with your own body. As silly as it sounds, jumping up and down is also really great for your nervous system, and is a great way to just kind of like release some built up tension and anxiety. If you can do this on a trampoline or a rebounder, that's awesome. But if you don't have one around you, just jumping on the floor works great too. Singing is another great way of connecting with our bodies, of like loosening muscles, improving our posture, and getting good breath in and out of our body, kind of allowing like emotions and stress to kind of like flood out of us. And sighing too is another great way to connect with your body and kind of like relax yourself. I notice that I do this all the time throughout the day. Like I will just take little sighs. It's like my body just needs, a quick like refresh of air, but there's something about like giving yourself a chance to sigh, to relax, to take in that little gulp of air, that little burst of air, and then kind of let the all the negativity come out is really awesome. Okay, guys, so that was a little bit longer, but those are a bunch of techniques that I could think of as coping skills to reconnect back with your body when you just need a little break from some kind of stressor, so that you can calm yourself down and revisit that stressor when you're feeling a little bit more clear headed. So, guys, thanks so much for coming with me on this little coping skills mini series journey. If you are enjoying this, feel free to click on some of my other videos to get some more ideas.